We acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historic shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area, and we recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda for today? Councillor Shortreed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that the September 4th, 2025 regular meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I also have a mover and a seconder to adopt the, oh, sorry. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of August the 14th? Councillor Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that the August 14th, 2025 regular council and public meeting minutes be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. We have no public meetings today, nor do we have any delegations or presentations. Does anyone need to pull items from the consent agenda today? Then could I have a mover and a seconder to receive and approve the consent agenda? Councillors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and enacted in one motion. Each matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting. And that Council approves the September 4th, 2025 consent agenda and hereby adopts the staff reports and all recommendation contained therein and directs staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions.
All in favor? That's carried. Nothing under building and bylaw. Under Parks and Recreation, we do have the appointment of a senior trails technician, but that will be handled under the bylaw section unless you wanted to address that at all. Okay. Nothing under environmental business. So next up is Public Works. Morning, Mr. Thorne. So the first item is the Airport Committee minutes of August the 7th and 21st. Any comment from you on that?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. No, I was unable to make the meeting there, so if one of the members would like to speak on behalf of it.
I think the committee is just, trying to do everything they can to ensure that the fall fly-in is successful. We're getting the message out through social media, posters, notifications. I think that the chair of the committee is speaking to the radio stations to let everybody know, and everything seems to be coming in into place really well. So fingers crossed that we have good weather. And there's still color. The way we're going. Could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve the minutes of August the 7th and 21st? Councillors Barry and Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that Council receives the August 7th and 21st, 2025 Airport Committee meeting minutes for information.
All in favor? That's carried. And you'd like to replace the backhoe?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. This is part of our life cycle program, as discussed earlier in another meeting where we have some large purchases coming up. We're requesting to move this purchase a year ahead, a couple months ahead of when its actual replacement is. And then we went out to the LAS program to get pricing on the backhoe. We're looking at a single source for this piece of equipment, as it would be replacing the similar backhoe in our fleet. Our current staff are familiar with this style of machine. Our attachments fit this machine as well. So there wouldn't be any additional purchases in other equipment other than the snow removal equipment, which we have brought forward. The snow removal equipment would be new, but it's an attachment to the machine. In addition to the purchase of the equipment, as we have done in the past with other equipment, we have purchased a PM agreement, so a service agreement that has Tormont come up and perform all the services on the machine based on their specifications. That has been very successful for us on our other pieces of equipment. So we would like to do that again on this piece as well.
Any questions for Adam on the acquisition? Could I then have a mover and a seconder to approve the moving forward with the acquisition? Councillor Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the council receives Public Works Report PW 02625 regarding the backhoe and replacement for information, and that council concurs with the recommendations made in the said report to single source the purchase of the backhoe and snow removal equipment for $263,789 plus applicable tax from Tormont Cat in accordance with section 11.5 of the township's purchasing policy. And that council approves the purchase of a 584-month preventative maintenance service agreement with Tormont Cat in the amount of $31,608 plus applicable tax. And that council directs these purchases be expensed from the Public Works Equipment Reserve, and further that council hereby authorizes CAO to sign the required agreements.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Adam. The only other thing that I should have maybe mentioned about the airport committee, they are meeting now on a weekly basis. Likely short meetings, but just to touch base and make sure everything's in line, given that we're the events at the end of this month. Next up is fire services. Morning, Chief.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
Busy couple of days, huh?
It's been very busy. We're at a structure fire right now.
A structure fire.
Yeah, over on Kushock. So it has been busy,
Well, we just hope that it keeps raining for a while.
definitely.
So first is the report on the fire master plan and some of the updates on the work that's been done.
Yes, definitely. As requested, I was to provide a progress report, which we're going to do quarterly for council to see of the fire master plan. So part of your package, it showed a chart, and I think we've worked a long ways to progressing on what was brought forward from the fire master plan, just because we're aware of some of the situations. For example, the ENR bylaw was updated in July, and that's the second time in 4 years, and it's common for it to be done every 3 to 5. So we're well ahead of that game. Newest tractor council approved for last year, and then we got funded through the cancer prevention funding last year, so it's all been replaced. We are in the process of converting over for our MTO inspections to have iPads in our trucks. We do currently have 3 already in place. We're just waiting for the appropriate program to go with it. And depending on what's required, we might be looking for more in the project priorities. So there's one assigned to each truck for doing the MTO inspections. And along with that, on the iPad, it'll include things like our who's responding there and all of our hazmat stuff. So it'll all be available for the firefighters while they're responding. They spoke about keeping buildings current and looked after. And it's listed there, through council support, we've been very proactive in doing things with our buildings. Last year, we painted all the doors. This year, we are looking at, or we have put soffit face in that on Station 60. Along with that, we just approved the tender to put a new apron out front. Station 70 is getting a new floor inside their area. And Station 80 had their ceiling lowered. So we have been very progressive that way with approval of council, which is really nice to see. So they're the highlights that have been done so far, but we will provide a quarterly report for the progress for this. The main thing that you get with the fire master plan is we now have a strategic plan for the fire department going forward for the short-term, long-term purchases and that and activities for the fire department. Along with that, it provides a work plan, this chart for like myself or whoever's looking after as the fire chief in the future. We have a work plan knowing where the direction we want to head. So part of this presentation is to ask for the council to consider adoption of the fire master plan as presented.
Any to consider options?
No, just to consider the adoption of the fire master plan.
Oh, okay. Questions or comments about the fire master plan? Councillor Barry?
Just to confirm the update, and I'm happy to see the update so quickly after receiving the plan. Are these going to be quarterly reports?
Yes,
Is
that
that-
was,
is that what you
that
said?
was the request,
Okay.
quarterly reports to, in some, a lot of it won't take place till after project priorities, because that'll
Yeah.
be the first impact will be project priorities. So council is aware of what funding, because some of these will require funding to do. Some will just be a natural progression with our staff doing it.
Okay, thank you.
The acquisition of the iPads, are we doing that through the county's IT department?
We will the next ones, the original 3 that I got through a grant. And that's how come we already have them, but we will work with the IT department. We're working with the deputy clerk at this time to do to work generally across the whole township here. So
Okay, the only other comment that I'd make is that I do think that we need to be, as proactive as we can be, looking at options for the Dorset fire hall. I mean, whether they're options on our own land in that area, or whether we're looking at other opportunities of land in the area.
definitely, and I think that's a discussion that the CAO and myself should have to see what the best steps are going forward, in which we'll bring to council.
Okay, any other questions about the report? Could I then have a mover and a seconder to receive the update? Councillor Shortreed and Barry?
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the council receives Fire Services Report FD 0925 Fire Master Plan Progress Report as information, and the council concurs with the recommendation made by the fire chief to adopt the 2025 Fire Master Plan for the Township of Algonquin Highlands Fire Services as presented August 14, 2025, and directs a bylaw be brought forward to adopt the plan.
All in favor? That's carried. Next report is the fire protection grant from the Solicitor General.
Yes, this is the second year for this. It's a three-year program. You have to apply each year. Last year we were successful. That's when we did get our commercial wash machine. This year we're applying again, and some of the items that we're looking to get is proper dryer. It's like a cabinet dryer that would allow us to dry our gear, our bunker gear, within 2 hours. Currently, we use a skeleton dryer that just blows air through and takes up to 6 hours to each set of bunker gear. When we put that in at Station 80, we intend on taking the one that's the skeleton style, and it'll go up to Station 60 and be used to dry their ice water suits, so it'll still remain in service. Other items that we're looking at getting is 8 sets of bunker gear, and what will happen then is we're really good at keeping them current because we have our bunker gear replacement program every year, but this will allow us to get ahead a little bit, so the people that don't have current new gear personally for themselves that are like maybe, well, let's say 6 years old, will be getting new gear, but then we'll keep the gear in place, and that'll be part of our cancer prevention program. So the goal is when we get everything set up, if there's a structure fire, right at the fire, they take all their bunker gear off and equipment, put it in a plastic bag. We bring it back to Station 80 with the washer and the dryer, and they in turn will have all that certified equipment there so they can have replacement coat and pants and that, so they'll be able to go right back into service. There is a benefit because for council, because we do get this 8 sets here under this grant, we won't have to look at the 5 sets that we currently have in our replacement program because we already have this. So there should be financial savings that way. We also are asking in the grant for SCBA protective face masks because each firefighter has their own personal one, and we're asking for 8 of those because just for stock, as we get new firefighters, we fit them and they'll have their own personal face mask, and 25 sets of gloves Nomex hoods, the proper high particulate mask, or sorry, hood, and that's again prevent the particles coming in and absorbed through their skin, and what they call helmet softs. So that's the flaps on your helmets and your inner liner. And so it's going to be a rotation basis. When they come back from the fire call, we collect them again, wash them. We have the supply we have and give them all clean stuff and just keep rotating it through. So I think it's important. I think the fact that they're recognizing cancer as a real need. The firefighters' fatality rate's a lot higher than a standard person because of firefighters. Last year, they had 30 firefighters die in Ontario from cancer. So it's very important to continue going this way. The one thing to consider on behalf of council here is this dryer could incorporate replacements costs at the end of its life cycle for council. I project the life cycles between 15 and 20 years. So there could be some costs incorporated, but that could happen with our current stick dryer, and there's far more to gain in our process for the potential cost later. So I think it's a very important thing to have, and in that aspect, there's no cost towards council at this time. There could be that long-term cost in 15 to 20 years that needs to be replaced.
The only question that I would have is, do you see any logistical problems with the dryer being placed in Stanhope? And you know, how quickly it can be accessed, or any challenges with it being accessed by the stations further north?
So what happened last year when we got the full-size distractor here, we had a small little one here that we had. So we repositioned it it's in the Oxon Lake station. So they do have a washer for one-off. It only does one set a year. So they can do the one-off there, and they have a stick dryer there. The reason everything's in Station 80 is we have the staffing to do the washing in the daytime here close by where we don't at the other stations. Every station has a role in our fire service. For example, Oxton Lakes, we use them for back or off-road access. That's why they have a Zodiac there and they have the UTV. Station 60, we use them for extrication, and our main extrication equipment comes out of there. And Station 80, they are basically our supplies where they do that storage of air cylinders to run the calls and things like the SCBA. So we are trying to divide it between the three stations.
Any questions for the chief? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the report on the grant? Councillor Short-Reed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the council receives Fire Services Report FD 1025 regarding a funding opportunity under the Ministry of Solicitor General Fire Protection Grant submitted by Michael French for information. And the
Oh, I'm sorry.
and that council hereby authorizes staff to submit an application to the Ministry of Solicitor General Fire Protection Grant in the amount of $48,724 plus applicable taxes for cancer prevention equipment and personal protection equipment PPE as outlined in the said report. And finally, that council authorizes CAO and treasurer to sign the necessary documents associated with the grant.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir. Did you have another comment to
Yes,
make?
can I just make a general comment? I just want to thank Mayor and Council for the support during the fire ban. I think it was so important that we had it on, and it reflected yesterday. We've had 3 fires in the last 12 hours, one consuming approximately 3 hectares up on 35, which they're still at today cleaning up. We have approximately 4,000 feet of hose in the bush from there. We had one last night on Quagmire Lake. And then we had the one today was also a result of campfire. So 2 of them been human caused and one's been a natural cause. But that fire ban is very important, and our bush is still dry. And people just didn't understand the importance, but I appreciate the support from council.
Well, there have been a couple of emails this year aware of, you know, people complaining about us, you know, not shutting down the fire ban, say at the same time as particularly Muskoka. But I've assured anyone who's made inquiries that we, you know, the fire chiefs in the county all work closely together. And that it's your role to decide, you know, when the ban should be dropped,
Yes,
and
and it's all based
without
on-
pressure from council.
Yeah, there wasn't any at all. And it's all based on indices. We were in extreme. And if we hadn't got this rain today, we'd be right back up in there. And it's just the demographics. I live in Bracebridge, and we got hammered the one night, and I come here the next day thinking we'd be all fine, and never got any rain here. So I think it's going to be a trend going forward. We're just so dry, but thanks again for the support.
Well, thank you for the work that you do.
Great.
Okay, nothing under finance, business, and no reports under communications. I will say that under communications, the ad hoc committee for the branding strategy has been meeting on a regular basis. And there's a lot of good work done. We're just about ready to present the strategy to council in the near future. There's just a few minor points that need to be added to the report, and so I really look forward to that. It's been a good work done by everybody. Okay, under administration, we have had a request from St. Stephen's, the Friends of St. Stephen's, regarding the transfer of costs associated with transferring the church to the township. There had been a previous agreement that legal fees would be shared, but the assumption was at the time that that would be associated with the sale of the church, and that the Friends of St. Stephen's would be able to have some funding to share the legal costs with the township if, you know, if the sale went through successfully. But that has not come to pass, and so they're asking for our support in covering, you know, whatever legal fees there are associated with the transfer. And if they do have any funding left over, they'll submit that to the township. So comments or questions about that report? Councillor Shortreed.
The only other option is abandonment, which I don't think is an option really, so.
Well, there's a lot of challenges and a lot of work associated with that, so you're absolutely right.
Pretty much the only option.
Any other comments or questions? So could you read what you've got for a resolution?
Yes, absolutely. Be it resolved that council receives a request from the Friends of St. Stephen's related to costs associated with the transfer of St. Stephen's Church to the township. And council directs all legal costs incurred from Township Solicitor John Ewart associated with the transfer of St. Stephen's Church from the Friends of St. Stephen's shall be paid by the township.
Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Shortreed and Councillor Richards? All in favor? That's carried. The next report is the draft cost of living policy. Unfortunately, our CAO is unavailable to respond to that today, but I think it's fairly straightforward. Are there any questions or comments associated with the report? If not, I think we can receive it today. If there had been questions, I think we could have deferred it until the next meeting. So mover and a seconder then to receive and approve the report, Councillor Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of report CAO 00725 regarding a draft cost of living policy submitted by Angie Bird and dated September 4th, 2025. And that council and that council directs the bylaw to be tabled to adopt the said policy.
All in favor? That's carried. Next up is planning. Morning, Mr. O'Callaghan.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
So your first item is a proposed shore road allowance closing on Raven Lake.
Thank you. Yes, this is an application to close the shore road allowance in front of this property. The reason it's not on the consent agenda is it does involve some irregular lot line projections at the water. The subject property has constructed a dock and a set of stairs that are, if you're looking at the water, to the right-hand side of the property, which is actually in front of Crown Land, but it is on the township shore road allowance. The ministry has supported or submitted a letter of support with the revised lot line projection to incorporate those structures. The neighbor on the left-hand side, again, when looking at the water, has constructed a number of structures that would be in front of this property. But both the applicant and the neighboring property owner have come to an agreement on a lot line projection there that would also allow that neighboring property to retain control of those structures. So staff are recommending the application proceed through the regular process with the revised lot line projections.
Are there any questions associated with that? Counselor Barry?
When both parties are in agreement, does that go on title?
So it would not go on title, but there is written correspondence from both the applicant, the neighboring property owner, as well as the Ministry of Natural Resources that are in support of the proposal. So we do have that in writing and on file.
And then when if the property sells, that lot line is undisputable?
Correct, yeah, once the lot line's established, that is the lot line, yeah.
Any other questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve in principle the application? Counselors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that Council receives report PL 09325 regarding the proposed Shore Road allowance closing fronting property located at part of Lot 2, Concession 6, Geographic Township of Sherburne, Lewis and Roth, Raven Lake, and the Council approves in principle application OSR 01324 made to stop up, close, and convey the said Shore Road allowance with a deviated easterly side lot line, and that the applicants are requested to proceed in accordance with the shoreline road allowance closing procedure.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is your planning department update. Any highlights you want to provide?
Thank you. No, nothing to highlight, but happy to answer any questions.
One question that I had was the nature of complaints associated with the short-term rental
Mhm.
applications. What type of complaints are we receiving?
They vary from operating without a license, noise, overcapacity, things of those nature. So staff are investigating those as they come in.
Any other questions on the planning department update? Councillor Shortreed.
Just wondering if you've heard anything back from Habitat for Humanity.
No, so that's ongoing discussion. So I should have a report coming back to council, hopefully the next council meeting, if not the one after that.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the planning department update? Councillors Shortreed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that Council receives planning report PL 09425 regarding monthly activities for the month of August for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, we're moving right along at a great speed. External boards and meetings. Anything on the Dorset Partnership or Health Hub?
The partnership is working on a community update at the rec center in the fall. The health hub is still, their nurse practitioner is still on maternity leave, so they just don't have the staff to take the time to have a meeting yet.
So she hasn't been replaced on any kind of interim
They
basis.
just had locums doing her job, so, you know, like they're just juggling the best they can to keep going until she's done her mat leave.
And no Dorset Partnership meeting?
That's what I meant in the beginning. They're scheduling a fall meeting for the community.
Okay. Councillor Richards, anything on Upper Trent Water Management or Muskoka Watershed?
No, nothing for the Upper Trent group. There's been no meetings. And nothing on the Muskoka watershed at this time, but there's a meeting coming up. So by next meeting, I'll probably have an update.
Okay, so you'll be able to attend the next meeting that they're
Yep.
having? Okay, great. Look forward to hearing that. With respect to the OPP Detachment Board, we are meeting later this month. The one major issue right now is a communication strategy and making sure that we all have the amount of information that's needed without, getting too far into the weeds. Of course, the reports aren't going to do that, but Since the incident that we had that was close to the airport here, there's been a number of discussions taking place with between the detachment board chair and our new detachment commander, and we're working on a strategy for communications. Any incidents that have come up in the last short period of time, there's been a quick notification from the detachment commander to the detachment board chair. And so the information does go out to the mayors, just letting us know, if there's an incident that's going on, whether there's any concern that the public should have. And so things are moving along in that regard. So we'll keep you updated as we move forward. There's a lot of work to be done by the board. And the chair that we've got is just absolutely great with communications, and he's got a lot of experience, so he was well chosen. So nothing from the library board or community safety and well-being. Oh, I should, with respect to the detachment board, I will say that there is a survey that's out right now, just seeking input from the public about what their major concerns are with respect to policing. So that the detachment can establish basically a plan going forward. So we look forward to seeing what information we get from the survey. And as to county council, I think the only thing to report really is that one of the discussions that we've been having for the entire year, and actually since the establishment of the budget, at the beginning of the year, is what we are planning on doing to improve space, to improve the county council chambers, whether in fact we're going to retain the land titles office and have our council chambers there. And whether or not we would use the present council chambers for additional office space. So we have finally come to an agreement after looking at a number of options and hearing a number of concerns about that. We will be going ahead with developing the council chambers in the land titles office, which will be much larger. There's a lot of accessibility work. The council chambers will be fully accessible. It's on the main floor, and we're doing a lot of accessibility work in the regular administration building, as well as creating new office space as required. As usual, when you make an addition to a building, you find that you probably didn't add quite enough at the time, but the cost is fairly substantial, and it was a challenging decision for council to make. Otherwise, we are continuing to have discussions on service delivery, on items like planning, communications, engineering, and that's underway. There are a number of working groups, and we're hoping to have some solutions going forward by the end of the year. But it is additional work for all of the staff to do, and not everybody's on the same page with respect to some of the items. So anyway, we'll continue to work on that, and if anybody's got any questions, just let me know. Okay, so moving on, we don't have anything under general business. Are there any notices of motion? Hearing none, were there any items under correspondence? So could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the correspondence summary listing? Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, the council receives the September 4th, 2025 correspondence listing for information.
All in favor? That's carried. We have no closed session today. And the next item is the bylaws. So could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the bylaws? Councillor Short-Reed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be read a first time, considered read a second, and third time, and finally passed the corporate seal affixed. 2025-77 to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer for the Township of Algonquin Highlands Water Trails, James Pinto. 2025-78 to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer for the Township of Algonquin Highlands, Halliburton Highlands Water Trails, Mason Culp, 2025-79 to adopt a master fire plan for the Township of Algonquin Highlands, and 2025-80 to adopt a cost of living policy.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw? Councillor Short-Reed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-81, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be received and read a first time, considered read a second, and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, having had one of the faster meetings that we've had in some period of time, could I have a motion to adjourn? Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that the September 4th, 2025 regular council meeting is hereby adjourned at 9:35 a.m.
All in favor? That's carried.